So this projector here above me might be one of the best budget options you can buy in 2025. So this is a smart projector. It's got native 1080p, and you can see here it's super small, compact, and lightweight. So if you want to easily set this up in various rooms in your house, maybe take it outside and do an outdoor movie or game night, you definitely can do that. So this is a very low barrier to entry. I'm super impressed with it. I'm gonna show you here today. I've got some footage samples, audio samples. We're gonna go over all of that, and by the end, I think you'll be able to make a decision on whether this is the right projector for you. Now, Vizony did sponsor this video. They sent this over so I could test this out, but they didn't have any control over what I said in this video. They just wanted me to go through my typical process of reviewing a projector. And I have this set up as basically an 80-inch diagonal picture from everything you're seeing here today. I do have some objective footage we're gonna go through, objective audio samples. Like I said, I'll be presenting that to you. You can kind of take a look at it. You can let me know in the comments what you think. But spoiler alert, I am pretty happy with this, and I think it's a very low barrier to entry for someone that wants to get a projector. All right, so first thing let's look at, like I said, this is a smart projector. So that's the pro version here. The reason why is because you see you've got Netflix here, you've got YouTube built in, YouTube Kids, you've got Prime Video. So there's also some accessibility with Hulu and Disney Plus. Those are also, if you click in the My Apps over here, those did seem more like web versions. This Netflix is an actual app version, so this works amazing. YouTube works amazing, YouTube Kids and everything. So I'm a new dad having YouTube Kids on here, and this is Toon Goggles right here. Both of these actually offer quite a bit of free kids content. So if you're someone who has any kids and you want to use this for yourself and for your family, that's pretty awesome. The Netflix on here, as I said, works perfect, fully functional. Having that 1080p on here, you're going to be able to go through that interface and you can read and see everything, all the text, very easily. So as you see in this row right here, basically this kind of sources through, if you're similar with Fire Sticks, things like that, the Amazon interface, a lot of the other like smart TVs now today, they kind of have this curated section they pull through. So here you can see it pulls through my Netflix profile. It gives me some of the shows I've been watching. It says continue watching. It's giving me these all right here on the main projector menu. So that is pretty cool. So if you have a Netflix account, you sign in and it's going to pull all this through. You have full functionality of that. YouTube, same thing. You can log in and you can use this across devices, pick up right where you were with your YouTube videos and all of that stuff. And then there is an app store on here. You're going to have, certain apps you can download and put on this as well. The biggest one I saw is Plex. So there's a lot of actually free movies and TV shows on that Plex app. So if you want to go through and, find some movies and other stuff for free, this is pretty cool because even if you don't have a subscription to Netflix or Prime Video or anything, between this YouTube, the YouTube Kids, the other Toon Goggles thing for kids on here, that Plex does have quite a bit of free content and channels and everything. So if you're someone that, you can get by with looking at documentaries and some other, nature shows, and then you've got some other entertainment that's free and maybe, not just the most latest movies, but if you're someone who likes watching some other movies and older TV shows, there's plenty of free content actually you can get by just hooking up to the internet. So if we keep coming over here and we make our way over to the My Apps, you'll see there's a couple, quote unquote hidden apps. The Hulu's under here, the Disney Plus is under here. And then you've got kind of this, iOS screen share. You've got the screencast for Android over here. So when you click on one of these, you'll be able to see, it gives you actually some pretty good detailed instructions on how to hook up to this. And honestly, it's pretty easy, works pretty well. When you're hooking up to these and using wireless, that is going to depend on, your wireless capabilities of your home and everything too. When you're casting, you want to make sure to connect that your device is on the same internet as the projector is set up on, and you should be able to see it and mirror it with no issues. So the important thing I always have to note with that is there are copyright protections on a lot of your streaming services and apps and paid apps, all that kind of stuff. Typically, you're not going to be able to wirelessly cast that over. So that's why this projector is great, because you have a lot of those apps and features just right on the projector itself. So usually in the past, what I'd have to do is recommend people to, get something like a Fire Stick or Roku player in order to hook up to the projector for their navigation and to get those apps. Because if you try to mirror Netflix over from your phone to any projector, it's just not going to work, because that's always going to be blocked. So with this, you have Netflix built in, Prime Video built in, YouTube built in, so you're not going to have to worry about that. If you do want to share, though, some of your personal pictures, personal videos, things like that, that's where that casting comes into play. All this stuff I showed you, Netflix, YouTube, all that stuff, obviously you're connected to the internet for that. So if your internet connection isn't very great, if you have any lagging, that's going to be why. So I've noted that this is a very budget-friendly projector. So one of the things you may notice is this actually has a manual focus wheel and a manual keystone correction. Some of the other projectors out there have gone to digital for both of those. And I would say it's a little bit easier sometimes setting up your picture, but I have this set up as you see on this projector shelf right here. If you have your picture pretty much dead on and it's straight, that's going to give you the best picture quality always. If you're needing to come up at an angle, maybe you're going from like a tabletop and you're trying to go upward at the wall a little bit, that's where you're going to notice then having to use that keystone correction to lay it back flat on the wall. Sometimes in the past, I've noticed you get a little bit of lack of clarity around the edges when you use that manual keystone. So in an ideal world, you want to have it set up as straight as you can from the start. But with this one, you have that manual focus and keystone correction. So also depending on how far away from the wall you've got this projector, you basically use that focus wheel to get that clarity, and that's just going to depend on how far away you are. So I've got an 80-inch diagonal screen you're seeing here. They say you can get all the way up to 250 diagonal, and I think it looks pretty darn good. For your colors and everything, your color saturation, nothing was really blown out. I think when I was looking at this, I watched YouTube, I watched Netflix, I watched multiple shows on here and everything, and I never really had any issues where I saw anything that stood out to me that looked jarring, or the colors looked way off or anything like that. So color representation and accuracy I was pretty impressed with, as well as like the contrast. Nothing was overblown. Everything looked, I think, how it should have. As far as the audio on here, you have built-in speakers, and I'm in a standard size American bedroom, I'd say. So average size bedroom. If you're going to be listening to this in there, I think this is going to be plenty fine. You may hear, you could hear a little bit maybe of the fan going on behind me. I was able to, like I said, watch multiple shows and watch movies, listen to music on here with just the internal speakers only. And, I never once felt like they were competing with that fan noise or anything. Everything I watched, I didn't have any issues with the audio, honestly. So I think if you want to just use the internal speakers, and if this is probably your first projector and you're not too picky, you're not going to think about that twice. You can also use Bluetooth connection. The one thing is with Bluetooth, there's always going to be a little bit of latency. So if you are watching video, audio is fine. If you're just, say, streaming music, it's not going to matter. But if you are someone, you're watching Netflix, for example, if you're using Bluetooth for the audio, that's where you may just notice there's going to be a little bit of latency between, someone's spoken word, and, the audio you're hearing and their lips moving, for example. If you want to upgrade the sound quality, but you want to make sure there's no latency, what you can do is there's that 3.5 millimeter audio jack. You can put an aux cable between that and a speaker, and then you're going to upgrade your audio quality without having any latency. All right, guys, so I have this playing that you see up here right now. And I'm sitting in one of these chairs right underneath the projector. So this is going to give you a good idea of kind of what this sounds like. Here's another one, and now we're at max volume on the projector here. And we'll go to one more song here. Here's another one. All right, and here is a tech review from my other channel. I'm going to start at 100% volume, then I'm going to bring it down because it does sound a little bit too loud to me. So here is just some example of some spoken audio. If you're someone who's actually using this on a desktop and maybe you're using it for media consumption, while you're streaming things, maybe watching shows, you have YouTube going on in the background, that's something So there you go. Even with kind of the fan noise that you may or may not hear in the background here, these definitely have powerful enough speakers that it can combat that. And in a normal sized bedroom, which is what I'm in right here, you could get some really good audio out of this. And I think you can use a standalone without having to hook up an external speaker. The remote of this projector is actually pretty cool. You have obviously your volume controls, your source button as you'd expect. There's also some other, pre-programmed apps. You have the Netflix app on there, Prime Video app on there. So it's nice you can hit those and easily just jump right into those apps. That saves you a little bit of time. You have 2 USB ports on here also, so if you want to use that for media, you can. You can also use that USB to supply some power to an external device like a Fire Stick as well. Then you're gonna have some of the other manual button control layouts on the top of the device in case you don't want to use the remote. So there you have it, guys. If you do want to pick up one of these Vizony DP04 Pro projectors, there's gonna be an affiliate link in the comments and description. Please make sure to subscribe for more home theater content like this, and I'll see you on the next one.